Alright, tonight we are going to talk a little bit about page speed and why page speed matters. So Google tells us that 53% of mobile users who are visiting a website and the website takes longer than 3 seconds to load, Google says that 53% of them will bounce. That's a lot. So if you have 1,000 website visitors and your website takes longer than 3 seconds to load on mobile, Google says that 530 of them will leave. That's a lot. So we're going to look at some examples here from one of my clients, and we're going to go to PageSpeed Insights. Google PageSpeed Insights if you're not familiar. developers.google.com/PageSpeed/PageSpeed/insight. You can just do a Google search for PageSpeed Insights. It will come up. So this tells you a lot of things about PageSpeed. I'm going to look at one of my clients here and show you some things that I did. So it gives you the mobile score, gives you the desktop score. This is out of 100, 100 being the best, 0 being the worst. I have seen a couple zeros, couple ones, couple twos, couple threes. Not good. This one we're starting out at 34. 34 out of 100. So let's see what Google says. First, contentful paint means first text or image is painted on the website. It takes about 2.4 seconds. Not awful, but not great. You know, someone's probably less likely to leave since it's taking less than 3 seconds for the first content to be painted. But time to be fully interactive, everything on the page becomes fully interactive. 16.9 seconds. That is a long time. So let's go down here and see what Google tells us to do. Opportunities. 5 seconds worth of opportunities right off the top. Preload. Key request. So this has to do with JavaScript and how the server reads the JavaScript. So you got something called bolt worker.js with JavaScript code. I want you to use the preload tag. So a couple things you can do here. Really with JavaScript and CSS, all JavaScript, all CSS needs to be minified. Just straight out the gate. Now, if you do that, you're going to save a lot of time because most websites, especially if you are on a WordPress website, your CSS and JavaScript need to be minified. The more plugins you have, the worse it is. You need to minify your JavaScript. So one thing it probably wants you to do is either do inline, make sure the JavaScript is in the actual website, you're not calling to it. But in this case, it's suggesting that you're calling to the JavaScript. It wants you to use a preload tag. My guess is for this, you minify it first, and it's going to change a little bit what it wants you to do. So minify JavaScript, minify CSS. Next thing, defer off-screen images. When you go to a website, all the images and everything tries to load at once. That's just default setting all websites. So when the images that you don't see that you have to scroll down, those are still trying to load even though you don't see them. This is suggesting using something called lazy loading, where the image doesn't even load until the person scrolls down to it. So the first images at the top will automatically load, but then as the user scrolls, everything else will then start loading. Saves a lot of time. In this case, it's not a lot of time, but hey, every millisecond counts. Next gen formats. Honestly, all images need to be optimized anyway. This isn't a very big image, but I see some websites, their images are over 1 meg, and they have a lot of them. Optimize your images. Use a website like Short Pixel. You're not going to lose the quality like you might have 10 years ago. Optimize your images. You can take an image that is 500 kilobytes, get it down to 50, even 25 kilobytes. Save you so much loading time. So optimize your images. This suggests having an alternate version of it, whether it's WebP, JPEG 2000 for next-gen formats. Reduce server response time. Sometimes this is the server's fault. If you're on a slow server, this can increase the time. 0.13 is not too bad. Sometimes it has to do with the amount of coding in the background. So it's one of those things. Usually it's a little more specific here, but it's just saying first time to byte. So that's probably server response. Um, Back down here, here's something else. Web font load. If you're using something like WordPress, you have all these Google fonts that are trying to load. So there's something you can do to load them differently. I know there's a plugin for it. I cannot think of the name of it off the top of my head, but to load web fonts differently. So it's not trying to load every single web font on your website that's automatically installed with WordPress. Minimize the main thread work. Once again, script evaluation. Take your JavaScript, take your CSS, and minify it. On WordPress, I use something called Auto Optimize, and that has some really good options there. So I took this website, did one pass of it, and looks like this. I went from a 34 to a 62 just with one pass of it. On desktop, I went from a 78 to a 95, so that's pretty good. So now we're at 62. Now let's see what Google tells us. So first contentful paint was originally 2.4. Now it's 2.2. That's good. Time to interactive was originally 16.9. Now it's 6.2. Wow, 10 whole seconds. Mostly minifying JavaScript CSS, making JavaScript CSS inline instead of calling to it. Enabling cache. Oh yeah, anytime your website loads, if you're not enabling cache, it's like it's loading for the first time every time someone goes to your website. But if you enable cache, people who revisit your website, it takes less time for load because their computers have already seen it. So let's see what's left. Opportunities, reduce server time. This probably has to do, in this case, themes, plugins. Yeah, is what it's calling out here with WordPress. Themes and plugins can be bulky. So if you have any unused plugins, unused themes, delete them because the code still stays there. Eliminate render blocking resources. That's JavaScript is asking you to do inline here. So we got all this jQuery, JavaScript. Those are the big issues. Total size, that's pretty big. Oh yeah, there's a video on the website now. So that needs to be optimized. So next step for this, get a smaller size video, optimize it, get a better web format for the video, which does exist. So that looks like most of it. So if I just optimize this video, that will probably speed it up a lot. So that's how you analyze your page speed on websites. And those are a few things you can do to speed up the pages. I'm going to go over it real quick. The main thing, minify your JavaScript, minify your CSS. Next big thing, optimize your images. Use ShortPixel. It's a website called ShortPixel to optimize. I use the lossy format, which is actually the lowest setting, but I haven't seen any issue with quality of my images. And that's one thing people are scared of, is that they're going to lose the quality. But you're not going to lose the quality with ShortPixel. It's really good. Inline JavaScript CSS. Once again, if you're on WordPress using an app, a plugin like Auto Optimize, huge time saver. So those are the main things I would focus on, is your JavaScript CSS and images. All right, hope that was educational. If you have any questions, let me know.